Welcome back, everyone. We're now loading into Game 3 of Dendi versus Arteezy. It's the TI4 Solo Mid Championships. I'm Godstream is Merlini, and it's Shadow Fiend versus Shadow Fiend time between these two players.
Generally, you don't see Bottle Crow in Shadow Fiend vs. Shadow Fiend, but this is guaranteed to be a hell of a match. And the last one was only 2 minutes, but it was still really exciting. So, Shadow Fiend vs. Shadow Fiend, this will be the third match for, actually, I believe, every single round, if it goes to 3 matches. So, players need to be very, very well versed in this matchup, and most of them should. Shadow Fiend vs. Shadow Fiend is probably the most classic one-on-one matchup. And there will be a little bit of rune luck involved, but other than that, it's down to skill, down to raises, down to CSing, and both people, almost every player will start with a Wraith Band and 2 branches in this, so you get maximum damage early.
Dendi.
Dendi opting for the Tangos, and he didn't get a salve last time. Generally, you want a salve in Shadow Fiend vs. Shadow Fiend, I feel like, because the damage is... it's very bursty, but they can't like proc your salve from out of range because Shadow Fiend actually doesn't have max range. He only has 500, not 600. But this one, again, very, very important when it comes down to the block. It's far more important in range versus range than melee versus melee.
Alright, well, we'll see how things pan out here. Creep's about to spawn. One of the things we talked about, Radiant versus Dire. Dendi being Radiant game 1, game 3. So far, Radiant's won all 2 games. And do you think Radiant has a bit of an advantage?
I think
as far as mid
it's a slight advantage. Looking at the mid lane, just from cliff to tree, it's this distance is much shorter than these 2 distances. So you can see that you can fog a little bit quicker, but fog doesn't actually matter in too many of the matchups. For example, if Shadow Fiend versus Shadow Fiend, you dodge behind the trees, you just raise into the trees. But
if they go for kills, like looking at that game just then, where Arteezy gets a kill a minute and a half in by going high ground, if that's the other side of the map, maybe you can fog him before he chases you down.
The battle begins.
Yeah. So there's more potential for chasing if you're Radiant, I guess.
Yes, but just slightly, and you are a little bit more constricted in the areas that you can navigate around the side too, so you also have that. It's more open, which means more room to navigate, but less room to juke.
Alright, well, the other big thing as far as the mid-match is concerned, the blocks coming out now. Arteezy on the Dire side. Game 1 was a very one-sided block, and we'll see how Game 2 pans out. It looks like both players fairly even. Arteezy could actually end up on the high ground.
I still don't know how Dendi ended up with a better block on Radiant the first game. That happens like so rarely, and it actually should be mentioned. And Dire getting a slightly better block is, I'd say, standard.
Well, the last hit's now going to be the tough thing. Neither player with the best base damage. SF notoriously bad, and the first few souls just makes a big difference. If you can start snowballing, it helps you out so much, and there we'll see. Last hit goes to Arteezy, and Dendi yet to respond with one of his own.
And both players are actually very good about manipulating the creeps too. You'll see Arteezy drag the melee creeps very, very often to make it a little bit easier for him. And Arteezy does have better positioning because he does have that better block. And we see 2 raises come out already, 2-0 for both of these players.
Yeah, this is your early mana just to get those first couple of souls, just so you don't fall behind. Probably well.
But at the same time, there's a fine balance because you may be punished for it at level 3 and level 5.
If you don't have mana.
Yeah, if you don't have enough mana, because the player that has the edge early, you generally want to zone them out with a max range raise, and then you just keep trading max range raises. You get 1 max range off, and then they have to back off, and you just keep wearing them down that way. Especially when you don't have bottles, but before they have bottles, you really want to get CS so you can get your bottles, so you won't be put in that position later.
I guess if your opponent's using raises to last hit, you definitely know you can get away with it as well, as one of the things here. Arteezy already getting fairly low on HP. He did not start with Tangos, so Dendi, already chewing through most of his Tangos, has the HP advantage, and he's going to start zoning at Arteezy. Arteezy on the wrong side of his cliff. They're going to go for a kills here. Dendi's going to melee range here, but he's going to lose this right-click battle. Dendi's in trouble. He goes to the low ground. First blood. Arteezy. Too easy. He takes it. Knocks out Dendi from the 1v1 tournament.
That was a very aggressive play from Dendi. Walking up the opponent's hill is something that you don't see very often unless you're almost sure that you can go for a kill. And maybe he thought that he would hit one more raise, but unfortunately, one of the fan favorites, Dendi, has exited the 1v1 tournament.
All of these guys' fan favorites, whoever gets knocked out.